My dad handed me a stack of eviction papers and said, "You've got 48 hours to pack up your stuff. This house belongs to your sister now." I didn't argue. I just smiled and agreed. But the moment she walked through that front door, she discovered she had made the worst mistake of her life. My name's Mark. I'm 31 years old. The oldest, the fixer, the one everyone leans on. If a pipe bursts at 2 a.m., I'm the one with the wrench. If someone needs a ride from the airport, I'm already waiting out front with coffee in the cup holder. I work IT help desk at a hospital. I pay my bills, keep my head down, and live in the downstairs unit of my parents' old duplex, the one I practically rebuilt after a flood 2 summers back. My sister Lily is 27. She's the she'll figure it out type. Blonde hair, endless plans, a new big idea every month. She talks in absolutes, but never finishes what she starts. That part always falls on me. For a long time, I thought that was love. Now I know it was training. Growing up, Lily was always the star. She got the lead in the school play. I got stuck running the lights. She got a car at 16. I got a speech about earning things. She was special. I was reliable. Solid. But solid doesn't hang on the wall. It just holds everything up. I still remember being 9, standing with Dad in the hardware store while he picked out screws. He told me, "Men like us don't complain. We just hold the line." Back then, I thought that was a badge of honor. Turns out it was a leash. I never really moved out after college. It wasn't a decision, it just kind of happened. Grandpa left the duplex to Dad. The upstairs was falling apart, the downstairs was livable, but rough. I told Dad I'd stay, fix the place, and pay rent to help with the mortgage. He nodded like I had solved one of his puzzles. I taught myself how to drywall from YouTube, replaced outlets, mapped out the breaker box, and kept track of everything in a spreadsheet: date, cost, hours. Each repair made me feel like I was building a life, piece by piece. Meanwhile, Lily floated in and out. "Love what you've done with the place," she'd say, grabbing leftovers. Mom would pinch my cheek and whisper she's trying. Then she'd ask me to transfer $150 for the gas bill because your father's paycheck is funny this month. If my life had a soundtrack, it was the hum of the washing machine and my own breath. Not bad, just small. I told myself small meant safe. Then one Tuesday night in May, I went upstairs to return Dad's socket wrench. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner. Lily sat at the table scrolling her phone. Mom folded a dish towel into smaller and smaller squares. Dad stood at the sink, holding a manila envelope like it might explode. "Hey," I said, "the hall outlet's fixed." Dad didn't thank me. He just looked at my hands. Then my face, cleared his throat, and said, "Mark, sit." I sat. Lily didn't even look up. Then Dad slid the papers across the table. "You have 48 hours to move out," he said flatly. "Your sister owns this house now." It felt like ice water poured down my back. Lily finally looked up, smirking like this was a game show. "It's not personal," she said. "It's just timing." I stared at the papers, then at my father's calloused hands, the same hands mine had mirrored since childhood. My mouth moved before my brain did. I smiled. I nodded. "Okay," I said. The fridge hummed. A streak of cleaner slid down the cabinet, leaving a wet comma on the floor. Mom whispered, "It'll be good for you to spread your wings." She didn't sound like she believed it. 48 hours, Dad repeated as if rehearsed. I placed the wrench on the table carefully, like the wrong move might shatter the room, and said nothing else. But the truth? This didn't start with those papers. It started years earlier, when helping turned into funding. After college, I moved into the downstairs at a family discount, $600 rent when market was $1,200. I told myself I was lucky. At first, the money went to the mortgage. Then the calls started. "Mom, the tax bill came early. Can you float $300? I'll pay you back." "Dad, roof guy needs a deposit." I pitched in $500 here, $900 there. I kept every receipt, convinced I was being smart. Meanwhile, Lily bounced from bartending to marketing internships that were really pyramid schemes, to startups that paid her in pizza. She'd show up with a suitcase. "Can I crash for a couple weeks?" A couple weeks became 3 months. "You're a saint," Mom would tell me. while handing her another set of keys. I even loaned Lily $1,200 once for car stuff. She promised repayment by Friday, then after her wedding, then after her tax return. I started keeping notes in my phone, but every time I opened it, I felt small and bitter. So I stopped looking. I wasn't living fancy, but I was building something. I put in new cabinets after the flood ruined the old ones. I fought the city over a $600 trash fine that wasn't even ours. I learned the names of the guys at the hardware store. I became the one who held the line. Dad sometimes talked about legacy. He'd stare at the house and say, "This place keeps us together." Once I asked what the plan was when he and Mom retired. He said, "We'll figure it out." That answer sat in my stomach like a drawer that wouldn't shut. By February, after his friend's funeral, Dad got practical. He started sorting papers. I noticed a new folder on his desk, estate. My gut tightened. Then came March. Lily got engaged to Travis, a guy with shiny shoes and empty words like we're building a brand. At dinner, he took calls on speakerphone. Dad adored him. Mom said he was a go-getter. I watched him order appetizers he never touched, and all I felt was pressure in my jaw. April is when money turned into leverage. Insurance shot up $1,300. Dad sent a family group text. Need everyone to contribute to keep the home in the family. Everyone met me. Lily sent a heart emoji. I sent $1,000 with a note. "This drains me." Dad's reply, "You're a good son." That month, we had our first real fight. Lily wanted the upstairs for wedding content, wanted to turn the living room into her studio. She suggested I move into a storage room just for a while. Mom said, "Be flexible, Mark." Dad said, "It's her time." I said, "It's my home, too." No one heard me. 2 weeks before the eviction papers, Lily came to the basement door while I was patching drywall. She stood on the steps and said, "After the wedding, I swear I'll be out. Travis has this plan." "What plan?" I asked. "He's talking to investors." "For a wedding?" She laughed. "You don't get it." And maybe she was right. They said, "We always knew you'd land on your feet." I answered, "Nothing." Then she added, "Lily needs more." As if life were a pie and my share could just keep stretching thinner. Not long after, the papers showed up. A deed transfer from Dad to Lily, recorded just last week. Alongside it, an eviction notice drafted by a paralegal friend. They'd chosen a Tuesday. Less chaos than weekends, they said. They called it clean. To me, it felt like being shoved down a staircase. That night, I sat at my computer staring at a spreadsheet. $14,870 spent on materials over 4 years. About 412 hours of labor, give or take, by my rough estimates. Rent paid on time, every single month for 61 months. I kept scrolling, feeling nothing. Then I thought of the house like it was a person when I had fed, dressed, kept warm. And now I wasn't even allowed inside. I called Dad. No answer. I texted Lily, "Can we talk tomorrow?" Her reply was instant, busy. "It's done." Seconds later, Travis followed with a thumbs up. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I brewed coffee and canceled Netflix, like someone preparing for a trip. I took photos of the hallway I had painted. I ran my hand across the new post I had sanded. Smooth. For a brief moment, I felt proud, then foolish, then furious, then oddly calm. In the morning, Dad knocked and walked in the way he always had. "We'll help you pack," he offered as if I had asked. "Don't touch my things," I told him. He blinked, surprised. That was my line in the sand. He nodded, stepped out, and time began counting down. Saturday was the family meeting. Lily asked for a moment before she and Travis took possession. She said it with a straight face. Mom brought lemon bars. Dad wore the polo he reserves for serious talks. I kept on my work hoodie, still streaked with drywall dust. It felt like armor. We sat in the living room I had painted twice. Lily held a tabbed folder, pink labels neat and crisp. Travis lounged back on the couch, gravity itself bowing to him. Lily clapped once. "Okay, this will be smooth." "We're keeping the tenant," she said, nodding at me. "Month to month, just until we monetize the upstairs. Then we'll move to market rate." Dad grunted his approval. Mom said, It's best for everyone. I looked at the lemon bars. My mind said, say the real thing, not the clever thing, the true thing. So I did. No. Silence. Even the refrigerator paused. Lily laughed. No to what? No to being your month-to-month safety net. No to funding your content project while you hike my rent. No to packing up my life in 48 hours like I'm some bad guest. Dad leaned forward. The decision's made. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I said. I'm being precise. I pulled out my own folder, emails, receipts. Last year's lease renewal. I have a signed lease through December. It's binding. Check it yourself. Travis smirked. You can't lease from family. It's not from family, I said, tapping a line. It's from the LLC Dad set up last year to save on taxes. Remember, Dad? Your church friend drafted it. You signed as manager. I signed as tenant. It automatically renewed. 60 days notice required. And this state doesn't allow no-cause eviction anymore. That law changed last summer. Dad's eyes flicked. Mom clutched her chest. Lily's jaw tightened. Travis reached for his phone. I don't want to fight, I said, my voice steady. But you don't get to strip away my home and my work and call it legacy. I slid receipts across the coffee table. Materials, $14,870. Insurance and taxes, $6,400. Screenshots of messages asking me for help and me showing up. Call it love if you want. I'll call it invoices. Dad stood. You're making this ugly. I rose too. No, I'm making it true. Lily jabbed a manicured finger at me. This is about revenge. You've always resented me because Dad chose me for the deed. You're punishing me. This isn't revenge, I said, calm and low. This is closure. I let the word hang there. Make your choices. But you don't get my silence anymore. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your bank. I'm not your unpaid superintendent. Travis muttered about liability exposure. I raised a hand. If you want me out, follow the law. If you want to talk, do it in writing. No more hallway deals. Dad's voice snapped sharp. Ungrateful. After all, I cut in softly. He froze, like I had pressed a button. Mom whispered, Mark, please. I looked at her, my throat aching. I love you, I said. But I'm done being the one who carries everything. Lily tried again, gentler. Fine. Fair rent. Market's $2,000. You can stay for $1,600. I pay $600 now, I reminded her. Plus I paid for the cabinets, the outlets, half the roof. If you want market, then market means you pay me for labor too. Travis scoffed. We'll get a contractor. Great, I said. Make sure he fixes the corroded line in that corner. It'll burst in 2 months. And the main shutoff sticks. You have to hit it twice. If it floods the alley, the city fines you for runoff. Also, the upstairs bathroom fan vents into the attic. Mold's already starting. Better fix that before it ruins your wedding content. Lily's mouth opened and closed. Dad rubbed his forehead. I'll move out on my timeline, not yours, I said. And when I leave, we're square. No more transfers. No more can you float us? I won't be in the group chat if it's about money. Dad growled, who do you think you are? A tenant with a lease, I answered. And your son. The room tilted with the weight of it. I felt sick and clear all at once. I'm not fighting, I added. I'm informing. Email me. I gathered my folder, left the lemon bars untouched, and walked downstairs. When I shut my door, it was like closing a book. That night, the calls started. 9 from Dad, 5 from Mom, 3 from Lily, 1 from a number I didn't know, Travis's lawyer friend. I turned my phone face down and washed dishes slow, like I had all the time in the world. At 8:12 p.m., Lily texted, Okay, you can stay until the end of June. New rent, $1,600 starting June 1st. I ignored it. At 8:40, Dad wrote, We don't want to go to court. Be reasonable. Then, you're breaking your mother's heart. Then, where's the garage door opener? I set the opener on the counter, snapped a photo for my records. The next morning, I forwarded my lease to Lily and Dad with a short note. As discussed, I'll vacate by July 31st. Rent remains $600 per lease. All communication in writing. My hands trembled. My voice in the email did not. Time kept ticking, but this time it was mine. I made a moving budget. Truck, $140. Deposit for a new place, $1,200. First month's rent, $1,200 if I could find something small and decent. I listed my couch for $80. A guy named Ben picked it up with his truck. Heavy, he said. Yeah, I answered. Wednesday, the city inspector came for the annual rental check. Clipboard in hand, he looked around. You've kept it nice, he said. He failed the property for the upstairs fan and a loose handrail. Left a yellow notice taped to the door. 15 days to fix. 10 minutes later, a loud bang upstairs. I could hear Lily's voice through the ceiling. What is this? Travis answered, it's nothing big. Then came, Dad, it's always something. At noon, Lily emailed me. We need you to meet the inspector next week for a follow-up since you know the systems. I replied, I won't be taking care of maintenance. Please reach out to the contractor. 2 minutes later, but you live there. I typed back. Living nearby isn't the same as being responsible. Money requests piled up like dirty dishes. Mom, can you cover the $350 water bill? We'll pay you back Friday. She had promised that Friday before. I answered I can't. I stared at those 2 words until they burned into me. They kept me awake that night, but somehow, the next Friday, I slept better. That weekend, I looked at a studio above a barbershop. The landlord, Patrice, a weary woman, told me, it's not luxury, but after 7 it's quiet. The windows faced a blank brick wall. It smelled faintly of pine cleaner and warm dust. Rent was $1,100. I'll take it, I said, laying down the deposit with hands that felt too large for the moment. Back at the duplex, Lily and Travis had brought a contractor in gray shorts. Upstairs, Lily said in her owner voice, we want an open concept here. But century-old houses don't bend to wishes like that. At 3:17 p.m., the contractor knocked on my door. You mark? He asked. I nodded. Where's the main shutoff? I showed him. He twisted the valve. It stuck. Huh. He hit it once, twice, then it gave. Water rattled through the pipes. I watched the timing like someone eyeing the edge of a storm. Saturday night, the water hammer boomed. Then the upstairs hallway ceiling bubbled and a corroded pipe burst. White water roared. I rushed up with towels. Habit. But stopped myself. Instead, I dialed Lily. Shut off the main, I said. The valve in the closet. Hit it twice. She screamed for Travis. He yelled about the wrong closet. Dad cursed. Mom cried. I stood in my doorway, listening to the chaos crash down. Then silence. Then sobs. Finally, Dad's voice, softer, boyish. Mark. Not commanding. Pleading. I walked up slowly through water pooling underfoot. The shiny new contractor stood on a chair, staring at the ruined plaster like it had betrayed him. Lily's mascara streaked. You knew. Yes, I said. I told you Wednesday. And last month. And last year. Travis pointed at the inspector's report. This doesn't even mention it, he argued, like it erased reality. Dad sat on the stairs, head in his hands. I helped them move drench boxes, photos, keepsakes, because decency meant not letting those be lost. Not once did I say, I told you so. Monday. Lily emailed, 500 words, asking me to manage the repairs for the month since I knew the vendors. She offered $200. I replied with 3 plumber contacts and my own rate, $45 an hour, invoiced weekly. Her response, that's crazy. I ignored it. An hour later, fine, but cap it at 10 hours. I booked the plumber, told him to bill Lily directly. He replaced the line, then told her in that half-pitying contractor tone, whoever told you this was turnkey wasn't your friend. The bill, $1,140. Lily tried to haggle. He laughed and left. By Thursday, the upstairs looked like a fire had burned through a waiting room. Lily sobbed into a towel on the stairs. Mom made tea. Dad stared at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. And me, I felt relief. I started packing. 6 boxes Monday, 3 trash bags Wednesday, each box labeled neatly as if I'd see them again. I found a notebook of Lily's Friday paybacks, $1,200, $600, $350, $90. I tossed the paper in the trash, pulled it back out, then finally threw it away again. Let go, I told myself. Don't take this to the new place. At the reinspection, the fan still vented to the attic. The inspector frowned. 15 more days, he told Lily. After that, fines. She glared at him like it was his fault the days kept moving. That night, Dad caught me at the stairs. We can fix this if you just stop being stubborn. I'm stopping plenty, I said. Stubborn isn't one. He started his usual speech. I raised a hand. Email. Mom left a voicemail. I miss you. Your father is difficult. Lily is Lily. Please don't leave like this. I listened twice. Didn't call. Texted. I'll come Sunday for dinner. No money talk. She replied with a heart. Then, promise. I wrote back, promise. At Sunday dinner, silence cracked. Dad started talking about what was fair. I stood, rinsed my plate, and said, email. His fork nearly hit the table. I left early, walking home through grass-scented summer air, and realized I'd just called the studio home. On July 30th, I rolled out my last box. Took one final photo, the hallway light casting a golden triangle on the floor. Lily stood on the porch, clipboard in hand, hair tied back, eyes tired. You're really leaving? She asked, as if she hadn't thought I could. Yes. She frowned. I thought you'd fight to stay. I did, I said. Just not the way you wanted. The studio above the barber shop is small. The oven clicks when preheating. On Sundays, my neighbor plays soft jazz. The window faces brick, filtering the light like permanent mourning. I set up a cheap desk, placed a plan on it, named it Mark II. It lives. I built a new rhythm. Out at 7:15, coffee at the bakery where they knew my name by week 2, hospital shifts, 20-minute walk home. Some nights I read. Some nights I fixed nothing. At first, I counted missed calls, 27. Then 12. Then 4. Now just one every few days from Mom. A casserole picture. The cat. I answer those. I don't reply when the family group chat says Bill. My thumb hovers, then moves away. I breathe. Money feels different now, not a test, just hours traded for groceries and rent. Every Friday, I transfer $50 into a savings account called Not an Emergency. Small, but mine. Last week, Lily sent a photo of the upstairs freshly painted. We fixed the fan, she wrote. Travis says we're pivoting to long form. I replied, good luck. She sent a thumbs up. It cost me nothing. Dad hasn't apologized. Maybe he never will. He emailed once. We did what we thought was best for the family. I wrote back, I know. I did, too. He didn't answer. Closure isn't a slamming door. It's knowing which doors you don't step through anymore. What did I get out of this? Myself. The understanding that I don't have to be the floor everyone stands on. I can be a wall, a door, a person who says, email me, and then keeps living. This isn't revenge. It's boundaries. It's looking at a bill and asking, is this mine? If yes, I pay. If no, I don't. That's the lesson I wish I'd learned at 9 years old in the hardware store. My name is Mark. I'm 31. I hold the lines that are mine, and I'm done carrying the ones that aren't.